You sing.
I want to be the very best that no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, and gotta catch 'em all.
It's you and me.
I know it's my destiny, Pokemon. Oh, you're my best friend in a world we must defend. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em, our hearts so true. My courage will pull us through. You'll teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Pokemon. Well
Boom.
done.
That was good. That was
Well
good.
done. Our best intro yet, Sean. Welcome to the Anime Punch Podcast. This is Doc here.
This is Sean.
Today we're going to be talking about powers and power
Superpowers?
systems. Things like that. Some of our favorites.
Big flashy bang bangs is what
Yes,
I like
big
to call them.
flashy bang bangs.
Yep.
That sounds a little bit erotic somewhere for some reason.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Big flashy bang bangs.
gotta love her big flashy bang bangs.
Oh.
Wait, are we going back to the last episode?
Don't go there. So where should we start, Sean? We should want to start with power systems, right? We want to talk about what produces the powers, right?
Yeah, we can kind of cover that first. Well, let's start with this question. Which power system do you like the best?
Which power system do I like the best? Well, personally, I am a traditional kind of kung fu and martial arts lover.
Mm-hmm.
So the power systems surrounding things like ki and chakra and things like that are some of my favorites. So
something that kind of deals with like inner spirit, type of.
So Dragon Ball Z is obviously one of my favorites. I think that the powers in that and the fact that it's kind of applicable to everybody in a certain sense is pretty cool. I mean, obviously, Saiyans are Saiyans and Earthlings are only Earthlings, but they all have ki. They all have the ability to produce energy outside of their bodies, and those kinds of things.
Which is why even, like, Yamcha can be.
Right. Or Videl. I think Videl is probably one of the best scenarios for that. Like when Great Saiyaman saga, when Gohan teaches Videl how to fly and creates a little ball of energy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's like, hits home with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, what else is there? You've got, like, the quirk system. Which is a little more just free-flowing. It's just like, hey, people are born with superpowers type system. And so the superpowers that they have are a lot more diverse. Right. Rather than just being Dragon Ball Z, I am stronger than I was. Right.
Yeah. Just always getting stronger, Dragon Ball Z.
And
there's lots of others too, like, other than even, quirks. There's all sorts of different kinds of stuff out there. Like, if you ever seen the show Speed Grapher?
I have not.
You haven't seen that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Speed Grapher is like, he has a camera, and through his vision of the camera, he's able to click his camera and cause things to happen or explosions to happen in the image. If that makes sense. So he can like carry his camera around and like snap photos of things, and whatever he snaps a photo of would just explode.
That's absurd, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of
is that like that a unique power, kind of like Death Note is?
Yes. Yeah, okay. I think it is, and like it is. Yeah, like only he has that power. It's not like a bunch of people that have.
And would you consider that a power or a superpower? Like those type of things?
I would, especially because it's unique to one person. Yeah. Only because of that, I would consider it a power. Right. But if everybody had access to, like, if it was the camera that did it, then then I would not consider it a superpower. Like, if everybody could just go and get a camera that makes things blow up, then that's one thing. But this is like he has some sort of eye that through a camera lens he's able to make things happen. Yeah,
that's interesting. I've never heard of that show.
You should check it out.
That seems absurd.
Bad. It was on Netflix long ago.
Oh, yeah?
But
they have a pretty decent selection.
Yeah. So there's that. There's Nen.
Right. We were talking about that
with
earlier.
Hunter x Hunter, yeah. Which is similar to the whole Ki and Chi type thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of given a different name and given a little more robustness.
Right.
That's what I like. I think that's what most people like about that show, is that it's one of the most fleshed out of all like shonen shows in terms of power systems and power dynamics. So,
right.
It uses the chi formula, of inner power or whatever, but then it becomes very flexible in its application of that.
Right.
Where like Hisoka, the bad guy's got like that gummy string thing.
Right.
And Killua got his like electric yo-yos.
Yeah.
Which is badass.
Right.
Maybe the best part. Maybe the best one.
I think that makes it similar to shows like My Hero Academia and things like that. And
exactly,
that each person, and I think that it serves well to call them quirks in that sense, because they all kind of possess the same thing, which is talent. Really, is what it is. It's like you're talented or you have an ability.
That's a good way to visualize it. Yeah, because that's kind of what Deku is a talentless boy.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can manipulate things, but everybody has a certain way of doing it, like, like Ida, like, what about Ida? So he has his brothers, and I'm trying to remember back, but you don't see his brothers in action very much. That's what they do, but all of their powers are super speed, right?
Right, yeah, his whole family, I guess.
Is super speed.
Yeah.
But, like, you see, like, the little turbo boosters on his legs or whatever.
Yeah.
But what does his brother have, Or, like, do they all have the same thing?
Yeah.
From what I remember from watching the show, they're all different in slight ways. But how is that possible? Like, how are they able to use that power differently in each individual case,
Right. Well, I mean, I guess in that line of thinking, how do any of them use their power?
Right.
How do you consciously make your sweat explode?
Right.
Like, that's just something that's kind of just happens, I guess.
Right. Something that
because it doesn't really. It's not something that necessarily needs like an in-depth explanation on how our minds are able to make this thing happen.
Right.
It's just like a fact of that society.
Right. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I guess where I'm going with that is like, okay, and I'm bouncing back from show to show here, but going back to Hunter x Hunter, and like, Killua with the yo-yos, like, would it be the same? How would it be without the yo-yos, like, and without a skateboard, like without like, those powers have something about the character that make the powers what they are.
Right.
It's more than just electricity. It's like electricity and yo-yos.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, it's kind of like they're. It's kind of like a demonstration of like their personalities as well.
Right.
Rather than just the power they happen to be bestowed with.
Right.
Which I suppose in a way you could consider they do the same thing with quirks.
Right.
Because, they give the guy with explosions an explosive personality,
Right.
Guy who's like uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
His quirk kind of embodies his...
An explosive personality for his explosive powers.
Right.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, like, we could go all day, I'm sure, like, if, like, thinking of specific systems, like the Jutsu system.
Yeah.
You could probably consider turning into Titans, a superpower?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if
I would definitely consider
how you would classify that into a system, but you know, that's a thing that is a superpower.
So I guess you would classify that into a system as, well, what would it be? Because I mean, it was all based on like science experiments, right?
Yeah, it's all like just some sort of modification.
Right, they were all modified in some way to be the way they are. So I don't know.
So that might just be, you can just consider it like a typical superpower, you know?
Right.
Okay, well, I mean because that's how all the Western heroes got their superpowers is radiation and
right.
Science nuclear waste, science experiments. So that's like all that happens. So
yeah,
I mean, you can just flat out consider that a superpower. So
right,
of the normal variety, vanilla variety.
So that's an interesting point, because when you talk about shows like Hunter x Hunter with Nen or like Dragon Ball Z with Ki, you're talking about something that everyone has. You know, it's kind of like.
Right.
It's kind of like the Force. Like when you talk about Jedi,
exactly.
You know, it's like the Force is not a superpower, really. It's just an extreme talent in honing this power that's within everybody in the universe.
Yeah, it's just an inherent factor of the universe, as you said.
So that's interesting because, like, how I mentioned, like, like the idea of Ki and stuff is like my favorite superpower, when it's kind of not really a superpower, you know? It's kind of like it is a power, obviously, but it's a talent, you know?
It's just developing
it's an
skill.
aptitude.
Yeah. Right. Which, that makes sense. So it's a little, it can seem a little maybe too clear-cut to be a superpower.
Right.
A fancy old superpower.
Right. But in case of our argument, let's pretend that they're superpowers.
Yeah, we can still throw it in there,
Yeah.
So, here's a thought process for you. Western superpowers or anime superpowers? Which ones are cooler?
I'm going to have to go with anime superpowers.
Is that just because of how they're demonstrated to us?
Yes, and I mean, it's a little bit of a biased answer. You know?
I mean, we are an anime podcast.
Right.
So that makes sense.
I watch way more anime than I read comic books, which I am a comic book fan and I do read comic books, but...
I mean, I've seen every Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
I think I'm missing a couple, but I've seen almost all of them. And I read the comics, like, when I was younger. I don't read comics much anymore, actually, but when I was, like, you know, when I was living here, you know, and I would go to Ground Zero, which is just down the way, which is a comic book store, and play Magic the Gathering and stuff like that, and read comic books. You know, and that's what I would do. And I was never super into comic books, but I did read them, you know, way back then. But still, the reason that I like anime powers better than, you know, superpowers is that I think that maybe the foes and things like that in most comic books and stuff like that are always a little bit inferior, you know? Not always, but I think that actually Marvel is kind of a bit of an exception to that, but I don't know. Recently anyway. But yeah, I like to think about powers as something, as the way that I mentioned it, where it's something that is available to everybody, but it's your personality or your hard work or determination that brings out that aptitude or that ability to use that power.
Right.
And that's what I like about anime. It's not something where, oh, these superheroes, they didn't choose to be superheroes. They just are.
Right.
You know, and they just automatically have these powers that are from some freak accident or whatever. I'd rather it be the other way.
Right. Which is a lot more common in anime. Because in Western, you've got like Star Wars, and that's about it.
Right.
Then almost every superhero is a superhero of convenience.
Right.
Because there happened to be a nuclear waste facility around or something.
It's almost as if Star Wars was based off of Eastern culture, which
maybe
probably is. But
I mean,
don't quote me on that. But
who knows? Let me do some quick research. Yep. No, I don't know.
Siri, let's talk Star Wars.
Finally, I've been waiting for someone to ask me that this whole time.
But what about you? What's Western or?
I think I'm with you. I definitely agree with that sentiment where the fact that it's more widely available, so it's not just like the one guy, because that makes it easier to like implant yourself into the story or imagine yourself with it, because and then it translates a little smoother to like implementing its kind of themes and messages in your own life, especially when you're a kid. You're just like, when they overcome something, if it's by something that's accessible to everybody, like the Force, then you can kind of conceptualize that in your brain in the real world,
right?
To kind of better yourself,
Yeah.
And anime has a lot more of those types of styles and messages that I think would translate to anybody that needs that development or something,
So yeah, I mean, like, that's a huge part of why, like, I fall with that, is like how it affects me personally and my morals and my like view of the world,
right?
Like, which is odd because, and I think we may have talked about this in a previous episode, but like I sometimes feel like my values align more with Eastern culture than it does with
we talked about that a couple podcasts ago.
Yeah, and it's like being an African American and being where I am right now, I've always believed in this: you can do anything you want to, and like superhero, the Western superhero ideology is not about that. It's about you're selected by some sort of thing, and you're the only one, and you're unique. You're selected.
Right.
You're special.
It kind of depersonalizes it.
Yeah.
Because because that type of story, it just gives you someone to idolize or to kind of emulate, which is not inherently bad. There's value to that. It's just not the same. It's just not the same type of values and messages that you get from the kind of stories we're talking about.
Right.
I just don't think it translates the same. Like I said, like when you conceptualize it, especially in a younger mind, I don't think it translates the same at all.
Right.
Where I think the stuff that that like you would lean to, like anime's version of the Force, that kind of stuff, that would be more beneficial as a building block for
as a
like,
motivator, or like as something to
for younger minds to like learn values off of.
Right.
So, I mean, and the more I get into anime, and it's probably the reason I'm getting so much into anime is because I'd probably like have to agree with you there that it's just their like values and their morals and the things their society like praises or focuses on is just more in touch or in tune with how my thought process is.
Yeah.
And what I value.
Yeah.
It just connects to me, which is interesting because I didn't grow up with anime. I mean, I sort of did. I watched Pokemon, which I think probably influenced me in a few ways. But I watched Dragon Ball Z. Like I watched the normal stuff, but then it was that was it. Then I was out of anime for a long time until 2 years ago. So it wasn't like a huge developmental factor in my young life. So it's not that it taught me that. It's just that's what I had already gained from. I suppose that's just what already connected with me from whatever else I happened to watch, or from what I learned from the people around me, that just ended up being those like Eastern style values that
And let me just put a disclaimer in here, and say that although you and I feel like we align ourselves a little bit more with some Eastern cultures and things like that, I still don't know a lot about, the Eastern culture. I know... Oh, yeah. I know only what I've learned from watching anime and going to anime culture conventions and things like that. Right. And a little bit of my own research and stuff like that. And I've never actually been there and immersed myself in the culture. And I'll never really know what values I align with and what values there I don't align with, Right. But which, for the audience members out there, is my one of my immediate goals is to visit Japan.
Hell yeah!
And be there. It's like that's
first time I can travel.
Yes, boom, the first time I leave the country, that's where I'm going because I just know that I'll align myself with I want to be right. I want to be right about the fact that I feel like I would align more well with their culture and values.
And I mean there are some things that I don't. Like, in the same sense of how we have the certain values we have gleaned off of, like, anime and such. There are some that I don't particularly... I'm not particularly fond of, but for the most part, like, a lot of their... deeply entrenched, like, morals is where I think you'll find most of the connections. But I think you can. I don't think it's completely absurd to say that you can extract a lot of like Japan's like central values and morals from anime.
Right.
Because
you can't.
Because it's just instilled in all of that. Like, right. It's the same. It's the same way. Like so many of our stories are instilled with the same message. Right. Especially in the superhero genre, they're all instilled with the same message or similar morals and values that are made over here. It's the same over there. So it's not, even though it's not a complete picture. It's part of it.
It's a snapshot.
Yeah.
A snapshot.
Yeah.
And maybe, not even maybe, I don't know. I think that I don't know. I almost want to disagree with you a little bit and say that it's a very small piece of, you get a very small dosage of what it means and stuff like that from anime, and it's on really basic things, like,
right.
Trying to think of an example really, but
the basics but everything evolves from those basics, don't they? So,
yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
So it's just how they apply those basics in their real life,
right?
Which in a lot of the real life society in Japan is a lot different from like over here in the West. So
right. Well, I mean,
the work culture is a lot different,
right?
So,
I was going to bring that up.
Yes.
Like that's a good point. Like, but that's one thing that like anime might not show you. Like that's something that like anime. It's a lot of adventuring and like not everybody's working all the time.
Right.
But the reality is that in Japan, people are always working.
Right.
Working way more than we do over here.
Yeah, yeah. It's to an unhealthy degree, from what I've heard. And there are some shows that have that.
Yeah. Like Life of an MMO Junkie, it's kind of like, she just got done with this.
It is kind of the inciting factor of that show.
Right.
Something Netflix just got a couple months back, which I highly recommend to you if I might have already, but it's called Agretzko, and it's made by the Sanrio company, the Hello Kitty company. But don't discount it because of that.
Right.
But it's this anime on Netflix, and it's about like work culture. It's 10 episodes, and it's hilarious. But it's all about like this. It's all about like the typical young adults' working life, like being in a company where they're not advancing and working absurd hours and just getting bullied all the time.
Right.
And,
making chump change. And among all that.
And because the main chick, her name's Retsuko, and the way she deals with all this not favorable situations is that she carries around a microphone with her, and she has a personal microphone, so she'll go to a karaoke bar or like hide inside the toilets and sing death metal.
Right.
she'll just scream death metal.
Yeah.
And so she's like a huge fan, and that's how she like vents all of her anger.
Right.
And it's awesome.
So it's like aggression.
Yeah.
Retsuko.
Aggressive Retsuko.
Yeah. Agretsuko.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It came out of left field like 2 months ago, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
So, kind of, turning the corner here, but what about superpowers in another light, like something other than how we've talked about it thus far, which is like talking about objects, objects that give you power, like, which is something that's really heavily used in Western culture, I would feel like, but not as heavily used in Eastern culture.
Right.
Like, you have like the glove of power for the Avengers.
Right.
And you have like the Green Lantern's his ring.
His ring, yeah.
Things like that. And then like for anime, you have like Death Note, like, which is one of my favorite shows. And I consider that a power. I consider that superpower, but it's kind of an object that gives you that power.
Which I'm having trouble thinking of any other like object-based shows.
For anime?
Yeah. Because in terms of Death Note, it's the way it's an object.
I can think of another one. Inuyasha is one with the Sheikun Jewel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's one. Even though there's more, that's more of an enhancer, I guess, of a power. But the Great Shikon Jewel adds...
It's still something you have to obtain.
Right. You have to obtain it. And, what makes a demon... there's already demons. That's already rooted in culture. And this is a good system to talk about, too. Okay, so, demons already exist. They're just normal demons, just like as the historical Eastern culture would know them as. They're just, demons. But it's because they've gotten these shards of the shattered Shikon Jewel that makes them dangerous and made them start appearing to people, in their village. So they started appearing and ransacking villages and stuff like that because of the Great Shikon Jewel shattering.
Gotcha.
And little shards. And then the whole purpose of the main antagonist is to obtain all the shards of the Great Shikon Jewel, which is then the protagonists, to get him get all of them before he gets.
This show's MacGuffin.
Right.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So that's another one. I could probably think of another one too if I had some time to think of it.
Yeah.
But it is harder to think of that kind of stuff in the Eastern culture than it is in the Western.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because I feel like the Eastern culture is a little bit more spiritualistic in that kind of essence, like where your power.
I think
comes
that's
from
why
the spirit.
That's why so many of them are that key. Is there's that inner spiritual energy aspect of it where that it's more drawing power from within rather than from an external thing.
Right.
And I mean, which if you think about it, almost every Western superhero has a superpower because of a different object. So by something else imbuing that power upon them.
Yeah. Rather
than it being a natural form of life.
Right.
Whereas there's, I think we've only named 3 that are object based.
Yeah.
From anime.
You're gonna make me start trying to think of other ones now.
But I mean, even then, like I could name like 23 like Western shows.
Right, you can name them right off the bat. Yeah,
because it's like everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas, you actually have to think about anime and actually like find those little scenarios. But then, like, I don't know if I have the words right now to explain it, but I would like. If you think about Death Note, it doesn't remind me of, like... It doesn't make me think of, like, a Western style. Like, Superpowers or that kind of thing at all.
It's because it has such a dark and still spiritualistic kind of essence to it, you know? Like,
yeah, maybe.
Because who does the Death Note belong to? You know, like, that's what... You know, that's the big thing. It belongs to Shinigami, you know? Which is a demon, you know? Or, not a demon, but a Shinigami. You know, but,
right. Yeah, it just takes a different lens to look at stuff through, I guess.
Yeah. Man, I know that there's another one that I can think of that's object based. Well, okay, so Black Clover, that's another one where it's the grimoire that gives you the power. Even though, well, it's kind of both.
It's kind of both, yeah.
Because, well,
the grimoire's
a manifestation of your magical ability.
But it also, like, multiplies it, doesn't it? It like, grows it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it multiplies it directly or if there's just really powerful spells in it that you can use.
Yeah, maybe that.
But
then you've got, like, with the main character, it's straight up, like, the object. Like, he gets the object, and now he has a power to use.
Right.
So here, with some of the shows we've talked about, let's start narrowing it down. Because if you want to think about, like, what's the best
system
power, what's your favorite power?
Okay,
like you could either approach it from what you think is objectively the best power, or what is just your favorite power. So, like, from shows like My Hero, there's plenty to pick from on that. And I mean, as much as I love my boy Deku, I probably wouldn't pick his.
Yeah,
because it's not the coolest.
Yeah,
because the coolest, I mean, like, right off the bat, you have to think of Bakugo and Todoroki. Like, both of theirs
they're cool.
Right, they're just
flashy.
Yeah, they're flashy and really powerful. Gives you something to, like, awe at.
Right.
Which I feel like I lean towards Bakugo in that with those two.
With those two, yeah, I'd have to go with
Bakugo
also. Explosions.
Because I'm a young millennial who just likes flashy shit.
Yeah.
I guess.
My favorite, actually, power from, and we've talked about this before, and I can't remember her name, but the one that materializes things.
Oh, Momo?
Yeah.
Or Momo Yaoraza?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Japanese name.
I like hers.
That is a cool power.
Yes, I think that's the coolest power.
It's a cool power conceptually, because you're just like, it could be
what would I do if I had that power, you know? Yeah.
What makes it even more fascinating is that she has to be, like, really smart to do it.
Yeah.
Because
you
like,
have to actually think about how those atoms are structured and
stuff
like that
yeah.
to materialize.
Like, you have to know how how that object is constructed to make it. And so she knows how to make bombs or stun grenades, those little Russian doll stun grenades. And then in the recent one, she made, like, that tracker.
Yeah.
And that was just, like, off the cuff, which is like, here.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite. That's definitely my favorite power in that show.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That's a cool one.
Yeah.
With Dragon Ball Z, I think you might just have to say the power is being a Super Saiyan.
Right.
Because there's not, like, different powers in there. Like, the power system is the power.
Well, there are. Only in certain sagas, though. Because, like, when you think
sagas?
about...
I haven't seen the new sagas.
No. I'm talking about, like, the Otherworld Tournament saga.
When was this?
This is right after the. This is right after the Cell saga, maybe. No.
After Cell, before.
No,
Boo?
no. This is before Boo, I think.
So after Cell.
After Cell.
Before Boo.
Before Boo. I think. I think. It's Goku's dead. He's in.
Goku's always dead.
He's always dead. But he's in, the other world or whatever.
Right.
And they hold a tournament with all of the, Grand Kai and, the Supreme Kai, Grand Kai, and all those, all the Kais or whatever are, there.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
I don't.
It's not a super memorable one, to be honest with you, because it's so short. Oh. Not a lot of people know about it. But that's where, characters like Pycon come out. Mm-hmm. If you know who Pycon is. Right, he was in that tournament. That's how you know who Pycon is. And, his power is a little different, because his power is purely fire, There's no other manifestation of his power other than fire, which is interesting. Yeah, and some other characters that he fights in that tournament kind of displays different systems. It's almost like they were experimenting with different systems to see what else they could incorporate into some of the new shows that were coming out.
But did they?
They didn't really.
They just went back to everything's
They just went
energy.
back to They just went back to the way it was.
Which, works better conceptually with the with just it being the key in your inner energy.
Yeah.
Thrust outward. Wink.
Right. Yeah. But, okay, so here's another example with that. The instant transmission technique.
Is that the teleporting one?
Yeah.
Where he, teleports behind?
Right.
Yeah.
From my understanding, that's not really... Maybe it is having to do a little bit with ki, but it kind of makes it a point that it's a technique that was taught to him by Yardrat.
Rather than just being super fast.
Yeah. It's not like you're super strong. It's just a technique that he learned from somebody else that nobody else knows.
Right.
And so that kind of puts a little bit of a different spin on that. Unless it does have to do with ki, which there's no evidence that supports that it really is ki.
Right. They just haven't gone super in depth with that, I guess.
Right.
They're just well, it's a cool thing to happen, so meh.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. But yeah, I like that as a whole. When you go back to talking about just inner, bringing out your inner whatever, your ki or your chakra or whatever have you. I like that way better because it leaves it way more open to interpretation of what that's going to come out as. Know, the fact that it comes out as discs or it comes out as beams or as balls or whatever the case may be. You can be more colorful with what that manifests itself as if it's that way, which is it's something that's really cool.
Which is why, and that's probably exactly the reason I would personally prefer Nen, the Hunter x Hunter Nen system over the Dragon Ball Z one, because it's the same concept like we talked about. I think it just materializes a lot more interestingly.
Right.
So, however you would personally you would bring your personality into how you use your power. So, like we were talking about Hisoka's gummy thing. Mm-hmm. Killua's yo-yos, which are badass. Yeah. You got the whole Kurapika's chains. Yeah. And
Kurapika.
And there's a ton. There's what's that big old guy with smog pipe? Yeah. The Grand Master guy who has the big golden idol that with that epic final showdown. So in that respect, it gives you the same it gives you that same personal effect.
So narrowing it down a little bit more. I feel like you definitely are, you like Hunter x Hunter and the Nen.
And My Hero.
Yeah. And I like Dragon Ball, probably. And, I mean, I love My Hero also. So, it's really good, too.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of cool systems, I think the powers in, Kekai Sensen, Blood Blockade, Battlefront are really cool.
Yeah.
But maybe just not fleshed out enough to be super grabbing in the same way the rest are.
Right.
Naruto sucks, so we can just ignore that.
Whatever. Naruto's not bad. It gets bad in the later ones, but the power system and how the power works and stuff like that is really cool, in my opinion. Chakra.
Oh, yeah, I was never, as a kid, I was never into the whole,
yeah. Right.
The whole hand movement
the finger
things.
bang stuff.
Yeah.
No. So, about that, I mean, I think that it's cool just because it's something that at the time I'd never seen before.
Right. I mean, it is unique to it, yeah.
And it has that martial arts kind of technical, this technical aspect to it, And that's why I like what I was going to say, what my favorite actual move or power was from Dragon Ball Z, is Burning Attack. Just because, Burning Attack with Trunks. Trunks does Burning Attack.
Oh, yeah. Trunks, yeah.
And the reason I like it is because he's like...
Yeah.
And he does it. And for no reason. Why? There's no purpose to all that movement. But it looks really cool.
Right.
So that's what I like. And it's the same thing for jutsus. It's they're ping, 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 ping. But nobody really knows if there's a purpose behind doing all those movements.
Yeah.
Even though there could be, because I'm pretty sure there's times where they do them without having to do no jutsus or whatever.
Right.
Like when he does Shadow Clone Jutsu, it's just he's just oh, Shadow Clone Jutsu.
Right.
Why?
That's interesting. They don't. That's a good point because they don't always use the hand movements.
Right. They don't always use.
So then, what does that do? Is that just enhances it?
Yeah.
Or something?
I mean, who knows? That's what it is. Same thing with Burning Attack. Why is he doing that? There is no purpose. He shoots blasts all the time without doing that.
Right.
But why do that? How did he learn? What did
he
learn
learn
that
from? He's got to pump
from?
himself up.
Nobody else does that.
Right.
Nobody else in the show does that.
Everything else is Krillin and just
Yeah.
Here's a disc. Whoosh.
Yep.
Goku rears back for Kamehiwehi. Yeah, I don't know. I as many as we could think of, Kill a Kill. We were talking about. I think is technically a superpower, and that's a cool one. It manifests in a similar way.
Well, see, that one I don't consider to be a superpower because it's one of those things. When we were talking about, the speed grapher camera. If everybody had access to that, and everybody had it, then it wouldn't be a superpower because everybody has it. And it's the same thing with that because it's just life fibers. It's the life fibers. If you have access to life fibers, then you have the power. So, and if you don't, then you don't. So
does it have? It has. Well, I mean, but
everybody that fights in that show has life fibers on.
Right.
So it's like wearing a suit of armor.
But everyone who fights in Hunter x Hunter has Nen.
Well, yeah, but it's not a physical thing. Nen is not a physical thing that you're wearing.
Right.
Life fibers are just a physical thing. Life fibers are a physical thing that you have to possess in order to have the power. So I don't consider that one to be a superpower.
In the same vein.
Right.
Okay, I'll concede.
Okay.
I guess. That's not worth fighting. Because we're just gonna go back. We're gonna pick something so it's gonna be something out of My Hero or Dragon Ball Z that's gonna be the best thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because that's what those shows were known for. That's why they were popular in the first place, because they were like, ooh, whoa. Yeah. What are they doing? Like, oh my gosh, planets are exploding right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. If you had to... So, let's focus on those 3 shows. Okay. You already picked your favorite move from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Give me your favorite moves from... Your favorite power from Hunter x Hunter and My Hero.
Hunter x Hunter, that's a difficult one for me because it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Fun fact, I'm letting you pick first so I can think.
Well, I mean, I like Killua. Like, Killua turns into, like, the huge guy. Doesn't he, like, transform?
Huh?
Killua? Or not Killua, but go on.
Oh, when he goes crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not Killua.
I don't know if I'd consider that a superpower of his. Because it's not voluntary.
Right.
He's just like, he snapped.
Well, is the Hulk not a superhero?
Fair enough. Fair enough. But does the Hulk get his super strength from the future? Because that's how he gets it.
Oh, is that how he gets it?
Isn't that how it's explained? Like he's pulling his power from his future self, or something like that.
I don't remember any of that, but it's been such a long time.
I remember that. I don't know.
It's been such a long time since I've seen that show that I remember. I mean, I watched that.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I watched that like when it had come out, like back in 2011.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago.
I watched it 2 years ago when I was living at a dorm.
Yeah.
So a little closer, but it's still been a while. Because it's a long show to binge.
So, I don't know. I feel like Kurapika's powers are pretty cool. I can't think of a particular move that he did.
I don't know if he had. He just had that large chain.
Yeah.
Because he would. The whole point was to like wrap someone in the chains and then pierce their heart with the little cross or whatever.
Okay, the Grandmaster had a really cool move. Mm-hmm. It was almost like the freaking the 5-finger death punch kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was actually called something similar, I feel like. It was like the death palm, or like it was like a single punch that was like, oh, I'll obliterate you with this one punch, you know. That's always cool stuff, because that's like classic martial art, moves.
Right.
5-finger palm of death, the palm of death or whatever, like I like that kind of stuff too. So, the card guy, like the jester looking dude from like the first arc, like the first story arc in Hunter x Hunter, he's like a bad guy, seemingly. And then I think they team up later on in the show with the main guys. But he has like purple hair, really pale white skin, and he wears like...
You mean Hisoka?
I think so, maybe.
Hisoka's the one that's kind of like a clown?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the main bad guy.
Yeah.
It's the main bad guy until the last arc.
Right.
Yeah.
But they team up at some point. Or maybe that was just to get through the...
Yeah,
to get through the trials or whatever.
Yeah, there was a couple times where they were like, where Hisoka was...
It's like, oh, I'll go along with this.
Right, yeah. Played with them a little less than normal or something. But yeah. What about My Hero?
My Hero, the best move?
Best hero. Best power.
Well, we already talked about that. That was the materialization.
Right, yes,
that's my favorite from that one.
Yeah, I wonder if I give it enough thought if I liked anybody's power over like Bakugo's, or if I just like the simple, because I kind of just like the brutal simplicity of Bakugo. Gran Torino is cool, even though it's just super speed. He was just a cool character, I guess. Frog Girl.
Superpower's pretty cool. Not like my favorite, but
yeah.
It's
cool. It's surprisingly cool for how stupid it sounds.
Yeah.
Just like Frog Girl.
Like when you first see her, and we've talked about this before too, but like when you first see her, you're like, what's going on here? And then you see her in action, and then you're like, okay, I can get along. I can get with that.
Yeah, on rewatch, I noticed, and I began to understand why people were like in love with her so much. It's because in the first season, she's surprisingly active in her role. Yeah, like during training and during the incident at the USJ, that she's since she's with Deku, like she's surprisingly active, and she helps a ton.
Okay, so this brings up a really cool question about this show. Okay, who do you think? Like right now, the team is Deku, Ida, Momo, and
it's Deku, Todoroki, Ida, Momo, and Red Riot.
Right. So those are the five now. Five. Okay, and the first season, it was kind of there was no real crew.
Well, I mean, I guess
no people that consistently work together, like that.
In the first two seasons,
maybe in the second season, like you could see Deku and the Frog Girl, like
Deku
often.
Ochako.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of teaming up in those.
There wasn't a lot of teaming up.
It was all just like individual strength building and competition based rather than like joining together.
So I feel
there are like the main 5 or 6 people, which is like Bakugo, Ochako, Deku, Todoroki, and then probably Red Riot.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be a fan favorite. Even though his power's not too spectacular, but people seem to like him a lot.
So I guess where I was going with that question is, do you think that they're going to pair them up, or not pair, but like they're going to break them into even smaller groups so that it's like consistent, like a consistent team of people that are constantly working with each other because their powers match each other's well, or they complement each other?
That's a good question. My first instinct was no, because like with my first instinct, I don't see the benefit to it. Because other than when they forcibly separate them, like in that incident at the USJ where they put like Deku, Frog Girl, and Mineta on the boat, and then so they had each like 2 or 3 people paired up in different areas. Other than those like sparse moments, I can't really see a reason to. Although it's possible that there could be like a training arc in the future where they focus on teamwork,
right? And
so they're like, "Hey, you 3," kind of like the battle against the teachers duels at the end of season 2.
They paired up.
Yeah, kind of like that. There could be another one of those where, like, hey, your powers would be cool. Like, figure out how your 3 powers can boost each other's effectiveness.
Yes. See, and
how would you 3 work together?
That's what makes me ask the question, is because they deal with that a lot in the first 2 seasons also, but not so much the 3rd season.
Right. I guess during the second season, the tournament arc, the cavalry battle where they're like 4 people in a team.
Yeah, 4 people in a team.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing. It's
then
like
they have the duels, like in one of the. Well, no, that was the first season maybe, where they had the 2-person teams.
Yeah, that was first season.
And it was
the first
2-person
team. It was the
versus
first
another
season,
2-person team.
Yeah.
And they did that, and they did a similar thing in the second season. And now they're not.
So they do it in little chunks, yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
they
now
might
they have
still
the group of 5 or 6.
Yeah. Just because they're the 5, just because kind of normally they've got like the main cast to focus on,
right?
So it's just like
they're just the main cast,
yeah.
Not
the
that
main
they're
cast
necessarily grouped up,
right? Exactly.
For a particular tactical.
They're the strongest, and they're the main cast, so they're just like the one we see more often.
So who do you feel like would be, if they were to take, of those main cast people that they have now, if they were to take them and like pair them off, whose powers do you think would complement each other?
Of only the main cast?
Yeah, just of the 6 or 7 or whatever that are out there trying to save Bakugo right now.
Oh, so not including Bakugo, just the 5 that are saving him.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can include Bakugo in that, because who knows what's going to happen next anyway. So,
I think. I'm not sure. Bakugo and Red Riot. I'm blanking on his actual name, so I'm just going to keep calling him that. I think they probably make a good pair, because one, they're like the closest. Like, he's the only one who Bakugo like doesn't despise.
Yeah.
So I think they would probably make a solid team, especially because he's he's pretty well rounded. Red Riot with his like armor, so he can survive. He's good defensively, but then Bakugo's got a lot of mobility, got a lot of offense, so they probably work pretty well as a team. I would imagine. This makes a lot of sense, because then you go Ida and Todoroki, because they have a lot of power and a lot of mobility to save a lot of people. So they could easily work together with to formulate plans where Ida would like go super fast to rescue a bunch of people, while Todoroki like defends with ice and attacks with fire.
They're both really mature, also.
Yeah, and then Deku and Momo, I think work. I think specifically because since Momo can make whatever she wants, and Deku is like made to be kind of smart. He can like think of plans.
Right.
He would utilize that ability the most effectively.
Right.
So he would be able to make plans with her power just as well as better than anybody else could.
Yeah. Let me tell you who I'd like to see. And this is only partially for like, waifu sexual reasons,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But Frog Girl, Deku, and what's her name?
Momo?
The love interest.
Ochako.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. The 2 main girls, yeah.
Be an interesting little...
You naughty dog.
Be an interesting little combo right there.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, the waifu and then like the freaky one.
That's good. Yeah, that works. No wonder people
got,
like Frog Girl
stuff,
so much.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
just kidding. Folks.
Don't Google that with safe search off. It's gonna get real hot in here real fast. So let's try to wrap it up. What do you give me just give me your favorite. Which one is your favorite? Which one would you have to go with in terms of superpowers?
In terms of superpowers,
is Dragon Ball Z still undefeated? in coolness or effectiveness or personal stakes?
I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say Dragon Ball Z is unmatched in my mind in terms of use of power and like power system. Even though, okay, so there are drawbacks, you know, like the scale of power is totally fucked up.
Right.
But that's just because it was so successful. It's like not like they intended it to be that way. You know?
Right.
It's just what they had to kind of make work because the series was so awesome.
Yeah.
So that aside, you know, barring things like that where like, oh yeah, how is this guy so powerful when this guy was, when they had so much of a hard time beating this guy, how is this guy this much better? You know, like barring that kind of stuff, it's a really cool power system, you know, like where everybody has uniqueness in how they manifest that power.
Yeah.
And there's different species that represent different abilities on how much power to manifest. Even though it's a little bit, you know, messed up that like, oh, it's Saiyans are the most powerful, you know. It's kind of meant to be that way, like throughout they're like, oh yeah, Saiyans are the most powerful in the universe, you know.
Yeah.
But then that's why the new show is really cool to me, because it's like, oh, Saiyans aren't necessarily the most powerful. There's lots of powerful people out there. You know? Right. And so yeah, I mean, I like that. I just like it's high flying. They can fly, you know, like superheroes do.
Right.
You know, it's like it's like for those people that didn't get way into comic books, here's your superhero.
Right. Yeah, like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can see that. And because you get a lot of the same stuff, just in a different, more enticing package.
Right.
I feel that.
The other thing is how hard they train. You know, like they have to train in order to use this power. Like you would think that the most powerful, like Frieza, you know, would be like, oh yeah, Frieza is just inherently powerful. Frieza's never trained. He's never done anything. He's just been powerful always.
Right.
And he won't train. To train would be a disgrace to him.
Yeah.
know? But that's why he's weak.
Yeah.
You know, that's why he's weak. And the reason Goku and Vegeta are so strong is because they spend hours under 100 times gravity and freaking chambers and stuff like that. And it's not just like, oh, I have this aptitude to use this power, so I'm more powerful than everybody else. You know?
Right.
You have to fight. You have to train for it.
Yeah.
I like that. Majin Buu is the same way. Like, except for not training, it was learning in a way. Like, he had to learn how to become that powerful. Because, like, when he first emerged, after he was, like, awoken by Babidi or whatever, he was, you know, like a dumb child. You know? And then he grew in maturity and all that as the show progressed.
Right.
So, and that made him more and more powerful each time.
Right.
Know? And it's like, that growth is what makes it really cool, you know. Even though we're talking about an enemy, you know, it's like, oh, he had to grow as well. And then like Cell, you know, he had to absorb the androids and he had to learn, he had to adapt, you know, he had to adapt in order to become stronger than Goku, you know, which he did for a short period of time.
It didn't get stronger than Gohan. That was his mistake.
But his mission was to become stronger than Goku.
Right.
So
succeeded.
He did, yeah.
I suppose. Well, for me, I don't know if it might just be that it's like the current thing. That might be a huge part of like a bit of biases on that part, but I have to stick with my hero. As much as I love other things, like as much as I'm eternally fond of Dragon Ball Z, and how well crafted Hunter x Hunter is, something about My Hero is just way more enjoyable to me, at least. Where even though the powers are like more wide ranging, they feel a little more relatable to me. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because they're all personal, they're all different.
And it's like the fact that it's in a society like this. These are normal people,
right?
They live in a society where everybody has quirks, so it's like they're like normal people, like you and me, that just happen to be doing great things, like going to school for something that they love to do. Yeah, and like you can just relate to them a lot more.
And the the kind of message and story it's trying to tell through that lens of like what it means to be a hero in a hero society is just cool. And it has with its variety it has some of the coolest powers I've ever seen. Yeah, like I think Todoroki, Bakugo, like half of the pro heroes that we've seen are all really cool. That like you're just like, okay, that's badass. That's badass. Yeah. That's badass. It has the same kind of like unique, personalized like style that everybody's moves in Dragon Ball Z does. Right. So. Yeah. That's all me.
Very cool.
Yeah. Got anything else?
No.
Should we wrap a nice little bow on here?
Let's wrap a nice little bow on it.
Make it nice and snug.
All right. So first, I definitely want to help my buddy Sean out and plug his YouTube channel, which is excellent. You should definitely go and check it out. Go and tell us a little bit about it. Sure.
Making me blush. It's youtube.com/group therapy. If you go to YouTube and search group therapy anime, you will find it. It's got a picture of like a purple heart on it. It's been close to a month since my last video, but I've just finished the script on my next video, so awesome. It is a work in progress. Yeah. I think the editing will take me a while, but it's a cool one because it's kind of going to be part of a video series from somewhere else on YouTube, so it's going to be cool.
Right. So yeah, you definitely found a calling of sorts in making YouTube videos, so well done. I will continue to watch. As far as our show, stay tuned. We got probably some more episodes, including a season wrap up or whatever have you coming up shortly. Also, just like us, follow us, leave some comments, let us know how we're doing, because we like doing this, but we're new and we want to get better at it. So. Yeah,
even though there may not be a lot of people listening to this yet, just leave feedback, subscribe, follow our Instagram, and I'll be making a Twitter for us soon. So just hit us up, tell us what you want. We're down to talk about anything, especially anything anime related.
We're all about it.
We're in that world, so.
Yeah, even negative comments, whatever you have, just yes, we'll learn.
r/roast me.
All right, well, cool. Let's call it good.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.